we are just about to start. Okay, I'll just get order here. When people, sit down, and then we could start. So let me shout to the audience here. We are going to start. Do we have drums or something here? Right. Have a seat in front? No? Okay. So take a seat, please. So we may still have some people coming in, but then we should get started now. So I'm Kevin Au. I am the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Charles University, and I'm really glad that we have the honor to have Herbin here in person with us on campus to talk about his journey of being a VC and talk about growth capital, and also give us some insight about the industry, and also advices probably for ventures or entrepreneurs, people interested in entrepreneurs. Okay, so I have sent Herbin a few kind of preparation question or something, right? But I'll kind of ask some of these questions. I don't need to finish all of them. What we want is, like, after we kind of warm up a bit, we want to take questions from the audience here and also audience online, right? So we have my staff is taking care of the online thing. So if you guys post questions, what do they do, Herman? Is it post questions? Okay, so you type on the comment box. Then when my staff see it, then they will raise hand, and then they will let me know the questions, and we will answer. So we want more questions than just one-sided kind of discussion. All right, and we take questions or like here and there in English, Cantonese, and Mandarin. I'll let Herman to introduce himself, but he's actually from Singapore. 我哋叫做過江龍，即係猛龍唔過江嚇。咁so without further ado, let me ask you a first question. Tell us an interesting story in your career as being a VC.
Oh, well, anyway, nice meeting you guys. From Singapore, so I've been here for 6 years. If you ask me, VC is a difficult journey. People like to over-glorify venture capital. People like to over-glorify private equity. I'm not going to explain what's the difference between private equity, venture capital, but I like to tell people that it's not as glorified as what people think, where you have a lot of money, because we only make money when we help people to actually make money, right? It's like saying people go shopping, right? You can always go to Hermes and, you have money, you think you can buy stuff, but in reality, it's about which kind of bag you buy. Do you manage to buy the best bag? Is it just because you're the richest? Not really, right? So in investments, the same. It's actually a long journey. Venture capital, I started myself being an entrepreneur myself. So kind of, I would tell people that I know the pain points. Right, I started both two businesses, started exit, and I tell people, I said, it's a long journey. It's kind of lonely sometimes. And as a VC, or we like to call ourselves VC, right? I said, actually the hard part interesting part is actually the last 2 years. Navigating, I would say, ups and the downs, even as an investor, that new millennial, new young generation startup guys probably may need to understand versus early 2000s, 1990s, all these financial crises, right? Because you've seen the ups in 2018 to 2020, valuation sky high, blockchain, everything is so great. Last 12 months, even banks can collapse, right? So one of the most interesting thing I even had experienced myself was working hand in hand with the founder of a startup to fire people.
Fire people?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because if you don't fire, you don't survive. And think about it, a founder who has money would think we should burn to raise money, right? But here am I trying to tell him, don't be so dumb, right? You think you can burn money and then raise money, but what a lot of founders don't know is what investors are thinking, what people like myself is thinking, right? I will be very wary, tell you next 12 months, 18 months, let's say 2 years ago or last year, right? If I'm very wary for the next 18 months, I'm not going to tell you I don't have money to give you. I'll still tell you, tell me what you're doing. Right? And then now if it's a portfolio company, he's worried, he doesn't think the world is collapsing, he's still very happy burning money. Then I'm going to come in and tell him, wake up. Time to cut people, time to fire.
Okay.
And,
is this the exact wording you told the founders?
I mean, people who know me, I'm very blunt. Rather than beat around the bush, right? I like to tell people, don't go on circle, right? 不要拐弯抹角, right? In Mandarin, right? So only because I've been there, done that, in terms of as a founder, right? I don't want people to sugarcoat things to me. If I were a founder, the last I want is to pitch to so many investors and think that the world is all so good, and then everybody rejects me at the end. That's a waste of time. But again, that's just my own philosophy. I'm not saying that that should be what everybody's doing. So I'd rather be more upfront. Sometimes being upfront is also, you say as a VC, good and a bad thing. You can offend people too.
Yeah. I'll ask that part later.
Yeah, so I stick to what I believe, right? Just be yourself, do good. Because people used to help me. If people don't help me, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. So I say, I like to pay for it. But venture capital is not as glamorous as what people think. Yeah.
So tell us more about Gore Capital. Because when we first met, I said, wow, Gore Capital to me was like properties, right? So what is Gore Capital, and what is the fund that you are doing?
How many of you actually heard of Gore Capital? Just show of hands. Not really, right? So unless you're in real estate, you then will hear of us. You've heard of, if you guys go to North Point, go to City Plaza, Swire, Taiku, actually we are the owners. Linkread just sold 29 shopping malls to us that is around Heartland. We call it the Oak Tree, right?
Yeah.
We actually also the owners of a lot of these malls. If you go to Tsim Sha Tsui, now it's called Regent Hotel. Used to be Intercontinental, just beside
by the road, by the
seaside.
Yeah.
We actually own them as well. So, in long and short, we are a private equity real estate group. We try to just stay low profile. Sometimes sometimes you want to make money, you better be low profile. That's why I like to tell people. But the group is a private equity real estate group. We have about 38 billion US in asset under management. So we are known in Asia as being a value-added real estate investor. So we buy old buildings, we turn it around, and then we sell. We are not developers, so we don't buy a land and then build a new building. That is bread and butter of Gore Capital as a group. But what I do, I don't actually do real estate. As you can tell, if you can't tell by now, I do tech. I'm in the business of investing in people, so I'm not in the real estate business. But I'm in the business of investing in technologies relevant to real estate. So, in short, real estate, how many asset classes are there? Hotels, office, retail, data centers, logistic warehouses, right? Just quickly, I can rename 5 or 6 asset classes. In each of these asset classes, there's a lot of technology that can help either bring in more efficiency, save cost, or bring more revenue to each of these asset classes. And that means I can look at a lot of things to invest into. For example, EV charging is for car parks.
Right.
So I have a lot of car parks, so I can invest in companies like that. For example, AI, right? People like to talk about AI technology and all that. How does that help shopping malls to attract more foot traffic?
Right.
Some venture funds look at it as a AI technology, but I look at it more from the real estate angle of how can some of these things help real estate? Or like robotics. Can the robots help warehouses to be more efficient, automated? Would there be the next generation type of solutions to make warehouses, right, fully automated? There will be. In Hong Kong, there's all these big plazas and stuff, right? So we basically invest in this sort of business, and also one big new thematic asset class that I believe is climate. So ClimateTech, again, ClimateTech is just an extension of what we have been doing, looking at smart buildings. Because smart buildings is energy saving, right? Save aircon, save all these electricity prices. But what's next is actually beyond, right? For example, your materials for construction, carbon capture, right? These are things that we will look at.
Yes.
Because we can be a user.
Yes.
But we can also be an investor in this case. So I also look at next generation batteries, battery storage, because backup storage, right, for electricity. There's always this thing now is saying that how does a city or a country be full circle? So even if you have solar, you have wind, what else, right? These are all energy, but they need to be stored. I don't know again what's the level of understanding you guys have, but ClimateTech is a big topic, and I think next 10, 20 years at least, if you care about the world, then ClimateTech is something to invest in. People talking about what I call just now, people are talking about food, right? You're talking about food tech and all that. Why is food tech even hot to begin with, right? Because there's always a thesis behind people trying to say, okay, food tech, can it save some carbon emissions here and there? But besides tasting good and whatnot, but at the core of it is people want to feel good about themselves, that they're trying to do their bit to make the world better. So ClimateTech, these are all new things that we're looking at, and we typically write. We are not super early stage investors, so I'm not like seed pre-A investor. We are growth equity investors, so we write ticket size ranging from 10 to 100 million US. So 1 to 2 million, we will try to help as a user, but we typically would not invest. It's more to help to get them to the next phase. So there's different phases of investments, but we are more in the growth equity space.
Yes. So let me kind of talk a lot, right? So let me bring everybody back. So CUEA basically properties. You're huge, right? Couple of billions, right? And then you do not touch the properties, but you touch tech that related to properties. So if I understand correctly, you have like several verticals, like climate, crops, food, that would be kind of your sweet spots. And then even though you're relatively small, you're still talking about like 10 million, the ticket size is 10 million to 100 million. So definitely not for like early stage startup. It should be like people looking for Series B, that kind of thing. Wow, okay.
Well, we are still considered small in the grand scheme of things. Like I manage only about 1 billion US.
Only?
Yeah, to me, this is how I like to tell my team or the business, right? In the venture world, it sounds like a billion is a lot. But look at SoftBank, 100 billion, right? So I always compare, I say it's like, how do we get to the next phase? So I always say it's still a startup. It's still a startup, but basically, so this platform I've been building it for the last 6 years. So in a way, I think there's still a lot more room to grow, especially look at climate.
Right. So today we have the honor, as I said, to come to campus, right? So I suppose you may see some possibility of university working, not just CU, but universities working with CUEA. What may be the things that we could do, like you see possible?
Well, I mean, the core of it is universities have a lot of innovation, a lot of bright ideas, good ideas. I do see potential collaborations with various universities, hopefully starting from CU, right? Because, Prof.
First come, first serve.
No, but you've been very kind, right? So the core is, there'll be a lot of ideas that students, professors, entrepreneurs comes out from universities that want to brainstorm, really have, and want to talk about, to the extent it's relevant to the themes that I just talked about. Then we can be helpful, whether is it from investments or even from a proof of concept.
Okay.
Because you think about it, you have an idea. Let's just look at myself when I was starting my own startup when I was in college, right? If it's a B2B business, what's the hardest part? Get customers to try it. Customers may not want to try it if they say you're unknown, you're nobody. I say here, as a real estate landlord, we're happy to explore. So there will be ways, but it's just probably more engagement to know. Different ideas.
If you're talking university, then most of innovations, most of them are probably in the early stages. So you still want to have a conversation with them?
Well,
it's just
like
to guide them, or
like I said, early stage ideas never say never, because don't. I always tell people, like, so what if it's small? They're small only because they lack resources, or is it because they actually cannot scale up?
Two different questions.
Two different game trees.
Yes.
Two different trees. I'm very happy to just meet more people, to understand what they do, and to the extent that it helps, the early stage can become a growth stage.
Of course.
Very quickly.
Of course.
But again, people need to reach out. People need to, as entrepreneurs, people need to hustle.
Yes.
So I like to say, I want to help people who want to be helped.
Sure. So to follow up on that question, oh, by the way, as I said, I want to have a conversation. So if you guys have questions already, after I finish this question, if you have a question, please raise your hand, or if you are online, please type a question, then we'll continue my dialogue with a conversation with you rather than we keep talking. My next question, to follow up what you said, so if you are interested in the technology in university, so even though they're in the early stage, you still want to know them and then maybe nurture them or things like that. So what may be the best way we have some students and so on to nurture, what may be the ways, I can't say the best way to kind of approach you or approach Gore Capital?
I think we have a team, right? At Gore. I already have colleagues
at the back
room,
and
right?
Here, yes.
The way it works, I like to see it, right? If it's a proof of concept, a trial, a new idea, you have things to brainstorm about. We can always discuss separately about how the office hours, consultation, whatnot.
Okay.
Now these days, especially because of COVID, right? Zoom is always the easiest to kickstart conversations. You don't necessarily need to come all the way, or you come all the way to my office to even have a one-to-one. A Zoom is always very easy. I talk to people overseas all the time, right? That's not a problem. For the ones that's very relevant, where it's more than just an idea already, you already have a product, you're already revenue generating, and it's really about, can Gore's real estate business help as by being a customer? Like I said, we have so many different assets that we can be a potential customer. Then that obviously is another pathway, right?
Yes.
Same thing, reach out to my team, reach out to my colleagues, or reach out to the professor, right? Keep him busy.
I'm already very busy.
Keep professor busy, and then professor will decide when he wants to, let me see. I'm willing to be helpful.
Okay.
But again, I just appreciate it's not like 100 ideas every day asking me whether the 100 ideas will work, because every other day I also have a lot of people pitching to me of ideas.
Yes.
So let's be mindful of each other's time, right? In the sense that when you know it's legit, right? You just speak to prof, you will know whether it's legit or not legit.
Yes, that's true. We can do the first screening of that sort.
Yeah, but then on a regular basis, I think we can think about dialogues, think about a regular engagement about how I can come, my team can come. That's fine. I think, but the point is, people need to understand first how venture capitalists think, because coming from on your side as a business owner, I tell you, not every business need to get venture capital money.
That's true too. Yes.
Right. So people like to think that you want to get venture capital money because it's VC, it's so hot, Series A, Series B, Series D.
There's a lot of money behind. Or
I tell you, we also expect a very fast growth. We also expect very high returns.
Yes.
So unless you think you can get that fast, you may not need venture capital money. You might as well get early angels, early supportive money that is more slow to prove and test your concept. Because again, sometimes it's not within your control that the market is not in your favor. Right? If the market is not in your favor, no matter how good the product is, nobody trying to buy, it may not be your fault, but I'll be whipping people and say, why are you not getting the results? So entrepreneurs also need to think twice, right? Don't just think venture capital is the only way. It's not the only way. You can always go to prof for money too.
I'm kind. No, I don't have schools have some money. I don't have money. But I'm kind. You are tough. So if anyone take your money, they have to be tough, right? I mean, you can tell, fire this guy, close down that office.
The way I say it is, I try not to get involved, because the business should be run by the entrepreneurs. But if it's early stage investments and you're taking $20-40 million from me, you rest assured at the board, I am not as nice. But if it doesn't come to the board level, I'm actually very nice, because I'll just keep paying forward. It's actually very nice doing the business investing in people, right? You introduce people to everybody. If you're telling me early stage ideas, I'm very happy to introduce you more people I know. And people like venture capital. Why? I tell you, because it's a very friendly environment. I can't invest in you, doesn't matter. I introduce you another friend. Even if I invest in you, I also introduce the other friend, because I need more people to invest in you.
Yes.
Right? Yes. But real estate is very different. I either buy the real estate, I own the real estate, or I don't. There's no such thing as I only own 5% of the real estate. Right? But in venture capital, it's a very friendly world. Everybody is friends. 大家都係朋友嚟嘅. Because everybody is 1-2% owner, 5% owner, 10% owner. So which means I want you to succeed and you want him to succeed. Everyone wants each other to succeed. So that's a big difference, right? I said in venture capital is actually pretty friendly. Only time when it goes not so friendly is when shit goes, then the people with the money will come and tell you like, do you know what you're doing? Then that's the question. But again, this is only because I do growth equity. Early stage, the one writing 1 to 5 million tickets, they're usually very nice because they're in the business of being nice. So yes.
Okay, so let me see whether there's any question here or on the web before I have more questions to ask, but then as I said, I want a conversation. If anyone here want to take go ahead. Let's have the ladies first. You just say it, and then I'll, for the sake of the audience there, I will need to kind of repeat the question a bit. Okay, so she's asking the prospect of like those buzzword of like AI. Sorry, I shouldn't use the buzzword, but all the high-tech word like AI, metaverse, blockchain, that kind of thing. What do you think the prospect of these emerging and technology?
Well, what is AI? What is
AI? Well, artificial intelligence.
Well, what exactly is it? Because I always like to ask people this question because like, what's the precursor to get to AI, to all this like ChatGPT and all that stuff? Because if you do that without data points, does AI work?
So the answer from the audience was AI is a tool to address different kinds of problems. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, it is fine, but because people like to use these, like you said, buzzwords. And I always then go back and ask people, like, then when you ask me all this, do you actually know what is that, right? Have you tried ChatGPT? Do you like it? What do you think about it? But the question is very nuanced, right? I dissect into a few things, right? One, you're talking about, let's say, the AI / your ChatGPT products, right? There are many ways you can use AI. The second part, I talk about metaverse, blockchain, right? Metaverse, blockchain, these are also very complicated stuff, right? And you're asking about what I think, right? Not about what the firm thinks. So I better speak about, just to caveat, right? It's not what God Capital thinks, it's just what I think, right? And also whether it's relevant to what I like to see, right? Because sometimes I tell people, I don't like to invest in things that I don't understand, right? But that doesn't mean I would never get to understand, it's just whether I want to understand, right? So for example, like metaverse.
Yep. Did anyone sell you a metaverse idea?
I mean, this is online, right?
So, it's online. You don't need to name names.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, right? But my view of metaverse is that we're too early. Metaverse comes out or came out in the heydays of, your crypto. Everybody trying to sell NFTs. But essentially, there is a role for metaverse, but more like a 2.5, Web 2.5, than a Web 3. Because first question I always ask people, how many of you actually tried the Oculus? How many of you tried VR? 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah. For the rest, I don't see the hands raising. Then you've never even tried the headsets. Even at God Capital ourselves, this year during our retreat, right? All of us had a chance to try. Yeah. Because we are a real estate firm, but investing in PropTech and all these tech stuff, we made sure to make sure everyone, our colleagues, who are only in the real estate space, they don't invest in tech, let them have a first feel about the goggles.
Yes.
First comment, people come, very dizzy.
Yeah.
Then what are we talking about for metaverse and everything when people can't even get used to seeing that?
I thought the goggles are only for kids. Like kids could wear it and then play games all the time for all day, and it doesn't affect them. But for me, I couldn't handle it for like 10 minutes.
So I mean, I'm just, again, it's my view, right? There is a role for it, but it's just, is it now the right time? Do you have the right supporting tools to let people get into that world? But if it's a 2.5 straddle between, the real world and the metaverse, right? One big application I can tell you, right? In even what I invest in, PropTech, right? real estate brokerage.
Okay.
It is. For example, these days people want to buy properties, new developments or whatnot. You may not have time to go to, I don't know, Vietnam, go to somewhere else to buy the property. You don't have time to go to the showroom. Traditionally, what people do, you look at the floor plan, you use Matterport, right? You use Matterport, even renting housing, and you use the app, and then you try to move around, right? Then the photo is actually pretty real, right? I said, but now if you put it into a metaverse world to show a real development that you're buying, then there is real use case of why you need to get to this world. When there's a real use case, I think there is a role for metaverse. But if you're just trying to say we're all going to live in this new world,
it's high tech, like deep tech. Then
I personally don't think I want to live in that world myself every day when I can see real human beings like you guys here in person. But again, maybe you don't like to see people, then it's okay. Right? So again, I'm not saying metaverse doesn't work. Metaverse works. It's about finding the right use case to apply to the real world. And the same goes for blockchain that you asked me, right? Like, I'm going to talk about NFT, right? NFT at one moment, it reminds me of Tamagotchi. I don't know about in the rooms, we know where's Tamagotchi and all that. It reminds me of those you buying or trading cards and all that stuff. Like, I've been telling people, I said, well, I just don't believe it. I won't put myself. But doesn't mean you don't make money. There are people who make a lot of money. So like I said, there's no right or wrong investments. At the right place, at the right time, you make a lot of money. Wrong place, wrong time, even the right thing, you lose money. So the point being, and I look at NFT, I said, there is again a role. It's just how you use it to connect to the real world without it being a hype. Because if it's during a hype time where everybody's just getting in without knowing what's the point of this technology or product, then long term, time will tell whether something is useful, right? Blockchain, I personally believe in it because, I mean, there's a real role for blockchain technology. It's just how do we harness it, again, for real use cases. And you're starting to see a lot of stuff already in use case, right? In different industries, different stuff for blockchain. But the cost of doing it is very high. So again, it's useful, and that's why industries like that need venture money, because venture money is to take risk, right? But the cost of doing this whole thing is still quite high at this current moment. You can attract risk takers, $1, $2 million, $10 million, but they will come to a point people look at whether is it too expensive right now. So that's blockchain. And then what else you ask me?
That's the three things, basically.
So hopefully I answered that.
My take is you are very kind of on the ground. You ask for user cases like that you understand. You don't believe in like so-called buzzwords, maybe like especially when people maybe try to sell you high tech or something on the hype, but then maybe that's not definitely not the best time to make a decision. Let's take a second question. Two questions. Let's answer the first one first. Okay. Let me see. Okay. And hang on, why don't we just answer that two questions? So the question was like, what's the duration of Herbin's fund? And then what's the expected return for a Series B investment? Correct?
Actually, the real answer is very subjective because there are 101 funds out there, right? I can only speak for my fund, but don't take my fund as the industry standard in terms of holding period or target returns. Again, I need to make sure because people like to think that what I say, then everybody's like, it's not right. Every other fund managers have a different holding period. And to your point about how's the fund life of my fund, right? It's actually quite consistent with most venture funds in this world. 8 to 10 years is a typical fund life of a fund. It's just a matter of out of this 8 to 10 years, when during that fund life are they investing in? But that actually doesn't concern the founders, right? It's just that generally in VC, you have 8 to 10 years as a fund. Why? Because it takes very long time for early stage ideas to get to where they are. Series B is kind of like what I tell people is I invest between Series B to D. But actually, what is Series B, what's Series C, what's Series D? It's just a number, it's just an alphabet. Like people like to get involved there, they like to get so excited about Series B, Series D. I say, if you only raise one round and then there's a pre-IPO, I clap for you. Because that means you're a bloody good company that becomes so cash flow positive, you don't ever need to raise money, and then you're going to list.
That's true.
Then you have other companies who raise 10 rounds, or even 20 rounds, Series Z maybe. Do you feel good that it's raise so much money, right? I said so. Don't get into this preconception, right? That the later the series, the better. It just means the more money they have raised, which logically means they should get bigger and bigger and bigger because you have more money. And as far as when I look at series, usually when I invest series B to D, I like to tell people it's more because they're already revenue generating. Right? I rather tell people that revenue generating rather than just the alphabet. They're already revenue generating at least 5 million onwards. Because then I know whether people like it or not. Like I always tell people like to ask this question at early stage. Okay, I'm growth, but early stage. Oh, product market fit. I say, what is product market fit? Right? I say, why don't you start thinking about whether people want to pay for the product as well?
Yes.
If they want to pay for the product, naturally there is a moat, right? But to get to your point, so usually I invest 3 to 5 years, and then we would look to exit because it's in the growth phase. So if you're in already a growth phase, you don't need 10 years. But again, the company can take another 10 years to IPO, okay, maybe. But for me, is when I look at investments, 3 to 5 years, what's the likelihood that I can make money? Doesn't mean the founder needs to exit, okay? Because as a fund, we can always sell our stakes, right? Different rounds, you can sell to different people. Just like your stock, you can go to stock and buy every day, right? So don't get the wrong concept that when I say I invest 3 to 5 years means after that, you need to sell your business. No, because as a founder, you don't have to sell the business. You can always keep, right? Look at ByteDance today, it's so profitable. People are constantly still trading stocks, right? ByteDance, TikTok, right? So there's no one size fit all perspective, but generally, if I think it takes me more than 5 years to exit, then probably not for me. That's why I say find the right investor for your business. If it takes you 10 years, then don't look for me. But I'm happy to introduce you to people who I know that can be there for 10 years.
Okay. Answer a question? All right. You want to answer a second question? But I want to see whether there are other hands first. The other hands, no other hands, then I'll go ahead and ask the second question. Any hands? Go ahead.
Thank you. I invest a lot of companies. Give an example, the most successful one, why they're so successful. And also, definitely, you get some companies, why they're so down.
Okay, so question, why there was some successful investment, so why is it successful? Some company that may not work out, so why it doesn't work out?
Many reasons for why a company will succeed or why a company will fail, right? Maybe I tackle the easier one is why a company will fail, right? I'm not 100% right, man. Like if I'm 100% right, I shouldn't be sitting here. No, seriously, right? In venture capital, depend again on stages, right? If you're early stage, you expect to write off like 99%, 95% of your investment. As in, I would expect, because it's just an idea and I'll write you a 250,000 check, I'll write you $1 million check. Then what's the likelihood that every single company is going to become like a unicorn? If it's so easy, everybody should be an entrepreneur, right? So you will write off investments, but the reason for writing off investments or going down usually comes in 2 forms. One, founder, too naive, too stubborn.
Too stubborn, yes.
Like I'm also very stubborn, if you can't tell. Okay, I am. My team knows it, right? I stick to one belief, I go stick to it, right? I don't care what the world says, I'll keep going to it. But you need kind of a little bit of that craziness to succeed, right? If you just follow the rules, sometimes then it's hard to innovate. But when things don't work already, you got to iterate, you got to change, you got to pivot. But some people are stuck in their belief that they don't need to pivot, they don't need to iterate, but without watching for cash. Because again, I tell you, founders, it's best to have the right complementary skill set within your team.
Yes.
Right? If you have co-founders, even better. Because then you share the workload, you share the pain, you share the worry together without needing to think that you have to carry everything on your own shoulders. Right? So if there are complementary skill sets within a team, usually easier to succeed. Tick, tick, tick. Right? Single sole founder, but is he a tech-focused founder? Or is he a commercial-focused founder? commercial focused founder is very good at telling me a story, right? Because investors like it, right? Oh, everything makes a lot of sense. Oh, it's good. But then, is the product hard tech? Is it a very technical product, or is it actually a common sense product? Sometimes common sense product can make money too, you know. But if it's a very hard tech product, I always tell people as well. Let's say a professor or a very PhD.
Oh, we have a lot of these
PhDs. Like there are a lot of PhDs, very smarter than I am, right? And then you have a product, and then you want to get it patented, A, B, C, D, F, G. Okay, great. I said good. But what's next? You need sales. But unless it's really called like biotech and all that, sure, you go and keep doing your research, right? But there are also very simple, plain vanilla stuff that just after one core product, you need to sell. You need to get to commercialization.
Yeah.
But as a VC, why do they sometimes fail? Is because you believe as a VC, you may bet on the tech, that the tech is really good. But the tech cannot scale up beyond a certain phase because they just don't know how to talk to business people or talk to, like let's say in real estate. You don't know how to speak the real estate lingo. You can tell me it's AI, energy saving, yada, yada. But real estate people, what motivates them? Do you speak the lingo in the deal, the deal guy that's sitting in the asset management, facility service management guys?
Yeah.
They have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then if the founder is just going to go and still talk to these people that have no clue what you're talking about and trying to sell you something, they may say it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Then do I blame that it's a product that doesn't work? Or do I just blame that you actually don't know how to do sales? Right? Then that's what I say. You ask me, this is an easy question to answer. There are many, many ideas that also failed from different stages, early to late stage. But there's no one size reason, right? But usually it's because sales don't pick up, founder is a bit stubborn to pivot. Then as an investor, I'm like, well, it's kind of like saying you're dating somebody, they don't listen to you how to get married. Right? You can have a marriage of equal, but you respect each other, right? On your strengths and sort out your fights.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, we just keep dating.
I have two observations here on the answers. So one, I agree a lot about like tech doesn't mean that you have commercialization a pathway, right? So I've seen, unfortunately, we have quite a few at Transfers. We have quite a few tech-based ventures. They're very successful, but at the same time, there are quite a few tech-based venture that are driven by like PhD like me, who knows about technology or things like that, but then don't know about commercialization. And that's actually one of the gaps I see on like for the ventures that we have now. Many of the, in fact, one of the I won't name names. In fact, there was one tech ventures that set up by our faculty staff. We provide them a fund for them to commercialize. After a year, they said, well, I can't use the fund because I couldn't find any CEO to work with me. So that's one point I agree a lot about. So commercialization is key. Yeah, that's very important. Any other questions?
But
here?
also to add on to your point, Prof, right? It's also, since I'm sharing with the audience, I would say even whoever that's online, if you're a student, right? The whole point of me trying to also share this is that not everybody needs to be the entrepreneur or the founder starting a company.
Exactly.
You could be majoring in different majors, not relevant to tech, not relevant to finance, maybe even HR, if there's a major like that.
Yeah, or arts, or music.
Or arts, history.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually matter. The whole point being, I'm trying to tell you that in a startup world, there's a role for everyone to play, right? You don't have to be the founder. So in different phases, commercialization phase, the business guys will think that, or the arts guy who can, craft a story, they come together. Like in startup, there's one role that I tell you is the best role, chief of staff. You do everything. Do you have a major for that? Not really.
No.
Right? Yeah. So my point to the audience, if you're in CU or whatnot, right, is the point is, you don't actually need to worry or start thinking that you have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to. You can find a role as a founding team member, early stage member of a startup, through different background and try, because the best way to learn a business is just to try.
Yeah.
You go in, you do everything, not even relevant to your major. Like, do I even know how to do investment when I was 18 years old when I started my first business? No, right? But you got to learn everything because you want to do it. So and the best time to do it is in college. Nothing to worry about. You can fail. You can afford to fail. You can go try. You can go intern. And that's another way we can work together.
Internship.
People who like internship, feel free. Go talk to my team members, right? You can apply to Gore. but not just go, because I invest in a lot of startups. I tell the single largest problem in general tech, I won't name is it Hong Kong or whatnot, is hiring people. Actually, that's the biggest problem in every business, right? Hiring the right people.
Exactly. Yeah.
But all of you guys have been there as well, right? Hiring people, you always want to assess each other, like, oh, do you pay me well, or does it give me a good career prospect, yada yada. Then you look at yourself again, what do you offer?
Yeah.
Then I always put the reverse. I said, why don't you try, as university students, interning in ideas or companies that are venture-backed? Because surely they have some money. Maybe it doesn't need to be invested by Go, right? It can be invested by other venture funds, venture-backed. They have some money already. There's some concept. People believe that there's some proof. You go in and take a role, whichever role that is. All majors works. I tell you, all majors work. Because in business operations, supply chain, HR, any role, right? Go in, but once you get in, you will get your hands dirty in other roles as well. Because in a startup, it's not as bureaucratic as a big group, right? One title, but you do 10 jobs. You do 3 jobs. But if you don't like it, then obviously too bad, right? But I tell people, don't need to worry about you have to be a founder. Because getting into early stage companies, you learn a lot. That helps your own career development. Like even marketing, who says only marketing major can do marketing? Today, influencers, they make a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. We have this.
KOLs.
Yeah.
Is there a major for that? Like to teach you that you have to be a KOL? But I like those people. Like, they know what they're doing. A startup can also maximize by working with KOLs, right?
Yeah.
Different skill sets. So try to think out of the box in a sense of your own career options, that you don't have to just be an entrepreneur. You do have to start a business. You can work with other people and learn from it that way. And as you get into that mode, who knows, one day then you want to start your own thing. But you might jolly well have first job, hit the right nail, you get the equity stake, because early stage, right? You get shares rather than money. Boom, home run. There will be. But there'll be others I've mentored a lot of kids as well, failed. Each of the startups they have been also all die, all struggle, all start to raise money. But hey, look at the positive side. I always have to look at the positive side. What do you get out of it? You learn different stuff, different skill sets. And it doesn't need to be you major in a certain major. Like, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be a developer, then yes, computer science, right? But you don't need to major in computer science. You can learn on your own and still be a developer. There are people out there all the time doing it. So that's my point.
Yeah. I will make one comment on what you said a bit previously, and then I will ask, see whether it's a last question. You mentioned about owners being tough and stubborn.
Founders,
sorry, yeah. So and then they also need to listen to your opinion, right? Sometimes. So it's a philosophical question in a way. It's kind of difficult. It's like a catch-22. You want me to be tough and stubborn, but at the same time, you also want me to be flexible when you talk to me, right? That kind of situation is kind of a really difficult dilemma. And I know it's like, I also talk with a lot of founders, and they also like sometimes confused about this, right? Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to think kind of in a particular way. You have to be tough. Like when most people say that you are wrong, you still think that you're right, and then you work on it. And that's how it makes you to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I don't think I have an answer. Maybe like whatever, people have to learn on that. So last question.
You talked about that role.
Okay. So what are the key roles in a startup team situation? Okay. How could a person get into different roles in a startup situation? All right. Okay.
So the way I think it's all tied to just on your comment as well about when I say people are stubborn, yada yada, how the philosophical question, right? Actually, I say it's very simple. It's about being the role of a CEO. It should be EQ smart. EQ smart. Because it's about managing people. The role of a CEO is to manage people. You have your idea, you have a founder, but sometimes the founder could be a tech guy. Just go and be the CTO. You don't have to be the CEO, right? What I'm trying to tell people a lot is you think about it as, even as an investor, right, I always debate with my founders about what's the right role to hire, when is the right role to hire certain people, and whether they listen. They don't need to listen all the time, because at the end of the day, I'm just one person, right? But the point being, you agree to disagree. That's why I keep emphasizing on, like, sometimes it's good to have co-founders, because you can debate amongst yourself different opinions before you form a view. Even just at like here, I like to hire people smarter than me. I always tell people that. No ego about it. Be surrounded yourself by smart people. You can't go that far wrong. You want to get money also from smart investors, rather than just money. It's easy to get money, actually, in this world, a lot, very easy to get money. It's whether you can get with smart resources to push you to go faster. So back to your point, hiring. So if you already have, like, what are the key parts of the business, right? Marketing, business, finance, CEO, all this, and back office. But if you're too early, you don't have the budget to hire everybody. I don't need a CFO in an ideation stage company.
Right.
Because are you going to go IPO? Like, what can a CFO help you with to IPO? Right? You can have a CFA, you can be like audit, you can be like investment banker, and everything. I say, I clap for you, right? I say, great. But when you join the startup, yes, you will still hold the title of a CFO, but you'll be expected to do more than just modeling, numbers, and business, because you'll be helping to bring in business, sales. But early stage and growth stage, there's different ways to hire people, right? Chief of staff, actually, chief of staff can mean a lot of things. Chief of staff really can mean a lot of things, because are you just talking about the back office, right? So the chief of staff in some books, because COO, different stuff, anything can work, right? But at an early stage is where you create your own title. I think you create your own title, but know what you want to focus on. Are you the people person? Are you the marketing guy? Right? You want to test yourself in marketing, test yourself in new initiative, right? Chief business officer, however you want to call it, right? I said, does the chief business officer do the same thing as a CFO? Not really. Right? But in an early stage, you pretty much do everything. But at the IPO stage or at your like growth stage, the CFO is very busy actually dealing with real numbers.
Yeah.
Then they don't really have time to go and deal with all your business growth. Then you need a business officer to go and deal with business, right? So from hearing from your point, right, where your question usually is, this only comes in when it's like Series A and before. Because that's where they need people from all backgrounds to come in to learn ASAP. But once you get there, you learn the skills, or you try to do a bit of everything. Assuming it works, assuming the idea works, okay, because you work as one team, right?
Yeah.
And you raise 10 million, 50 million, 20 million. What's next is that learn to let go. Okay, what does it mean by learn to let go? Just like I tell a CEO, I said a coach, it's like a footballer, right? I like to watch football. Not all good footballers make a good manager. Right? Sometimes the manager is just very good at managing people without actually being a coach. He could be without being a player. So as a startup founder, as a CEO, you start the business, so you're the CEO, but you get to a certain phase, you know where's your limit, bringing people to surround yourself to take on more leadership roles, more C-suite roles than just you. The smart people actually learn to let go, because you start to be a coach, where you're just motivating. That's why I say CEO, motivating. You're motivating your right people that you already hired after you raise a lot of funding to let them run. There's also a bunch of people who are so good at what they do, but they don't like to start business because they are very comfortable. But they're very good at what they do, years of experience. Then why don't we bring these people in? There are pros and cons in every decision, right? But my point is, a CEO at different stages of the business is learning to let go. Right? If you keep holding forever, you can still, but look at all the tech companies today. They all also let go while still holding the shares, right? Become chairman. The C-suite guys are actually people who are running the business.
Yeah.
So this just to get to answer to you.
It's a complicated answer to your simple questions because you already know the generic role, if I get it. But then I think what Herbin was trying to explain is like roles seems to transit and take different kind of significance depending on situations, and people need to learn and sometimes let go, sometimes learn new skills. Yeah. So I think we got to the time, right? So we still we have something. It's a real happy hour. I really need people to we need to bring our camera over there to let people know that at CU now in the happy hour, we really have drinks. So maybe take a camera over there. But then let me, I have some advertising here while I try to wrap up. Okay, this is like our course. We have a startup mentorship, a startup mentorship for startups. So it's an online plus mentorship for people who have who don't have much idea about starting up but wants to try. So really like no cost, only very little cost, right? Very little cost, but a lot upside. And the thing I want to say about Herbin is this. Herbin, thank you for your time. We need to give you more time, but then time's up. But then in the conversation, I can sense that you are not just an investor. I have met a lot of VCs who know how money, and then they talk about the terms and things like that. But you really know about the business and how operations are being run. So you're really on the money. So that's why you have so much success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So Herbin has to, we already arranged 2 more kind of one-to-one talk for him to advise our...
no advice, just happy to learn.
Happy to learn, okay. And to get happy, we have beer, we have ice cream. We still have ice cream, do we? In the fridge. But we in the fridge, and then we have other soft drinks. So stay and have a conversation. And we need to take a picture. How? Okay, so we end the live now. So thank you for joining us on live. Now I'll hope to see you next time in person and with drinks. Bye.